So you can actually cry in front of women and have them be just as attracted to you and possibly even more after. This is something that not a lot of guys understand, and I know there is a lot of pushback against this because there is this reaction to the whole, oh, men should be vulnerable and this and that, and then men are vulnerable and emotional, and then women reject them, and then men say, okay, you were lying. You were all lying to me. You're all this, that, insulting women. You're all sluts and whores and da-da-da, and you want the unemotional man, and I'm going to shut off my emotions or I'm going to, just hang out with the boys. And, there's a very emotional reaction to it, right? And the problem is that in their analysis or criticism, they're not being very sophisticated, okay? It's just another emotional reaction. When you show vulnerability to a woman, even crying, there needs to be two things going on, okay? First, you do have to be measured in how you express it. There needs to be some sort of a bottle on it. It can't be constant, non-stop, okay? You can cry for a couple hours, a couple days. I mean, you might be even in a depressive stage for weeks or even months, dude. Like, I went through a phase where I was losing my fucking mind after the situation in Ukraine, and I was crying my eyes out. I was having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. It was crazy. And it lasted for a while, right? But eventually it ended. Okay, eventually there was an end to it. But there was also something that was underlying the emotional outpour, including me crying and bawling my eyes out. And my wife didn't lose attraction for me. And so I'll walk you through what that was. Well, I guess it's three things, actually. So there's got to be some fucking limit to it, right? It eventually has to end. And that is tempered by this thing of, you're going to show her that you're going to try and overcome it. That there is actually an effort on your part to overcome it. You don't sound pathetic. There's a difference between someone crying and someone whining. Whining is pathetic. Crying is just an outpour of emotion. Okay? And then the second thing that needs to happen, actually, so I guess it's three, I guess it's two, whatever. Fucking counting. Is that she needs to have some attraction to you beforehand. Okay? So I saw this video on... I'll react to it. I think it's actually a cool one. It's like women ranking men's attractiveness, and one of the guys cries because he lost his best friend that year, and then the girls didn't rank him very highly on attractiveness, and then it was like, see, this is what happens when you express your emotions. And I just saw a brief bit of it, and I'll go through the whole thing in a different video. But there was other things he was doing wrong that wasn't just the fact that he lost his emotions, right? But guys just wanted to focus on that and say, see, women don't like when you show emotions. And from what I just saw, I just kind of went through, he was doing a lot of other things that wasn't gaining attraction. So if a girl's not attracted to you and then you show your emotions, you're still not going to get attraction from her because she wasn't attracted to you in the first place. In order for vulnerability and showing emotion to not hurt your attraction, there first has to be attraction, right? And in fact, it can actually make her more attracted to you, especially if you tend to be the really strong guy and you don't show a lot of emotions and then you finally break. It can be very attractive. And it can actually increase her attraction to you. Okay. The only exception, or I guess there is a third thing, she can't be a piece of shit. There are just some women out there who are pieces of shit. Now, some guys are going to see that and go, see, yeah, that's it. She was just a piece of shit. It wasn't that, I was a little bitch. Or, so you have to objectively recognize that you did the other things correctly. She just happened to be a bad person. There are women out there where you could have genuine reason to cry. You could do it in a strong way. And she can be attracted to you before then. And she still will go off and find another guy. Usually these are women who have severe personality disorders, especially anxiety-based disorders or things like borderline personality disorder where they have very low empathy. They were just fucked from the start. And also it was your fault for picking that girl. So, you can cry and bitch, but you should have picked a better partner, okay? You swim with sharks and then you're fucking surprised you get bit. It's like, come on, bro. Be smarter. Get good. Skill issue, right? So yeah, but let's eliminate that one because it's not even worth going into, right? If you can't figure out who's a good woman or not, and then you spend time with bad women and you're surprised they do shitty things, I mean, fucking grow up, okay? Let's focus on the other two things, right? You show that you're going to overcome it, and then there's some attraction beforehand. Now that's easy too, also, right? We don't have to spend too much time on it. Have you at least fucked her? Like, that's usually like, probably don't want to be showing a lot of emotion to a girl you haven't really slept with because you shouldn't be trauma dumping on people, right? But there are some exceptions to that. I mean, there could be a girl who she just finds you really attractive at the start, and then because of the environment you find yourself in, let's say you're going to a party and then you just heard some really bad news, but you're still going to go to the party because you don't want to sit at home and sulk, right? And you go there, but you're kind of just down. And then, there's this girl there who finds you attractive. Maybe you talk to her a little bit, but then you kind of go off on your own and you start to be upset, right? Maybe not like bawling, crying, but like you're upset. She might actually feel empathy and also a mix of empathy and attraction and want to come talk to you, right? I've had it where I was at parties, and I was upset and girls were like, hey, is everything okay? And they were genuinely, concerned about me. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, this and that. But then I could also tell them talking to me, they were kind of also being like a white knight, like the opposite of like a guy who's like, hey, are you okay? You're so beautiful. I want to help you. And really, they're just attracted to her. And then that's what's driving their empathy because they're not going to act that way with a girl who's ugly. But I could recognize the behavior. It was the same, just flipped. The girl was like simping and wanting to take care of me and, but she was attracted to me, right? And the fact that I was vulnerable actually made her more attracted because she saw a different side of me. Even more so, here's another condition. I guess it's not two things. It's a multi-layered thing, so much for my math, right? It could also be I did say it earlier, like if you're kind of a strong guy, but usually more if you're like a player and girls have, they have a bit of a trust barrier with you. There's a lack of trust because you are kind of a player and they doubt your sincerity sometimes, or they think they're just going to be another girl that you sleep with. And they see your emotions and they see, okay, this guy actually, because she doesn't know, right? She doesn't know you're still like a genuine human being. I mean, you would think that people should assume that, but they don't. And you probably don't either. So don't act like you don't also stereotype people and put them into boxes and dehumanize others based on something you don't like about them. We all do it. But, you could be kind of a player in her eyes and then she sees you upset about something. This usually happens in social circle. It's not going to normally happen in a cold approach situation outside of very rare circumstances, right? You know her or you're dating her. But she sees you upset and she's going to go, well, wow, this guy actually has emotions. Maybe I, mischaracterized him. Because she is going to recognize that you're showing her these emotions, right? Either out of desperation, maybe you don't have anyone to show them to, or she's just there at the moment when you're upset. And that can grow her attraction for you because now she can actually trust that you're a fucking human being and she saw a deeper layer to you, right? But let's go back to the original 2 points before I keep digressing. There has to be that attraction there beforehand, okay? Because again, it's just a simple equation. She's not going to not be attracted to you and then you be vulnerable and like cry and then she's attracted to you. That just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like it's just not like in the math equation. There has to already be attraction for you. We're just trying to decide if you're going to lose attraction because you're showing emotion or even gain attraction in those circumstances I just explained. But if she's not attracted to you, you suddenly being vulnerable and crying is not going to make her attracted to you. Only in the situation where she thought you were a player. But that means she had attraction for you. Lust was not the issue. It was trust. That was the issue. Or love too. Right? She found lust for you, but she didn't feel anything like to connect with you on. So love. And she also didn't, she felt like kind of you're like this plastic player. Like that's all you are is just fake plastic charm. So, but now she trusts that there is something deeper beneath that. And so those two things can arise from you showing emotion, but there still was that lust where she found you hot, right? The only issue was love and trust. So there has to be attraction beforehand. So don't go crying, oh, girls don't like when I show emotions. It's like, she didn't like you anyways. Whether you showed emotions or not, she wouldn't have found you attractive, because it's a fucking skill issue, right? Just go after a girl who's attracted to you, or get more attractive. Well, you should do both, right? There's going to be girls who find your just thing, your physical look, your appearance, your type of personality attractive, and have more of a, it's easier to connect with them, but there is also the skill of becoming more attractive in general and growing your universal attractiveness. So the important thing though here is that you have to show that you're working on it, that there will be an end to it, that you're going to tough through it, that you are on the path of recovery, and you show you're going to fight. So how this might look is, you're upset about something. I was going through my anxiety, and I was having panic attacks and anxiety attacks and losing my fucking mind, right? And my girl, she was my girlfriend at the time, but then, we got married. And this is part of why I married her, because she showed me this level of support. I was, going through all sorts of weird shit mentally, right? And I was crying a lot because I lost faith in myself, because I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, because usually I'm very strong mentally. And so that was the one thing I'd always prize myself on. But then I was losing my mind and having all sorts of physical symptoms because of it. And I was confused. So I felt like, okay, what happened to me? I lost my strength. And so I gave up on myself at certain moments. But then I would realize, I would look deep inside and know, no, I can get through this. I'm just at the low point right now, but there is a solution. I am going to overcome this. I am going to break through. And so I would have moments of hopelessness, but then on occasion, or even while I was like having a panic attack and crying my eyes out and going, I don't know what's happening. Why is my body and mind reacting like this? Like, why is all the, it was obviously a lot to do with PTSD from being in a war zone, but there was things in my life that was just the final crack in the wall, right? There was other things that led up to it. And I'd always been anxious and had an anxious personality. I just didn't pay too much attention to it, right? But now I was facing it directly, and I had to deal with it. So I had the moments of hopelessness, but when I recognized I was being hopeless and then looked deep within myself and saw that there was still hope, I brought that out, right? I didn't shove down on my emotions or just, hide it inside. No. I faced the emotions, embraced them, and then I grabbed my dick and my balls and said, I'm going to get through it. Right? Too many people are too fucking extreme, and you're just not very smart, to be very frank. Like, some people are just brain dead fucking stupid. It's either two extremes. You're pushing it down inside and just be a man and da-da-da. And then what you do is it's a straw man argument. You characterize like being strong as like, oh, I'm suppressing. It's like, no, it's not black and white, right? And then the other end is like, I'm expressing my emotions and I'm just upset. It's like, no, there's also an extreme of that where you're being a whiny bitch, right? There is a middle ground where you can embrace your emotions, your tears are flowing down your eyes, and, from whatever it is, a loss of a friend or a family member, or a loss of a job, or, you're not making the progress you want on whatever. I've cried because I wasn't getting laid and because I couldn't get girls. Why? Because it wasn't something that was important to me. I found dating and the skill of seduction to be something important, just like you would, get upset if you lost a tournament that of some, whatever thing it could be. It could be a card game. It could be a jiu-jitsu tournament. It could be a video game tournament. It could be, I don't know, whatever's important to you, right? But I saw it that way. Someone on the outside could say, oh, that's pathetic. Like, why are you getting upset that you couldn't get that girl? I said, well, because for me, it's a game. It's fun, right? It's like a skill. And so I was disappointed with myself. So I've cried over all sorts of things in my life, from the mundane to the very serious. But almost always, actually always, I've recognized my emotions and then eventually pushed through. Sometimes temporarily I would have the idea of like, oh, just be a man and just get through it, right? But I was always very good at examining my emotions. I very rarely suppressed things. And that's been a great boon to me. and it's given me a lot of paths to improvement. But here's the thing. If you're around a girl and you're crying, she can't fucking read your mind, okay? Just like we get upset at girls who are just like, oh, I'm okay, and then finally they say what's wrong, and, you know, it's like, oh, I was supposed to be a mind reader and just know you're upset. You also have to express and communicate to women, okay? She needs to see that you haven't given up on yourself, right? She might be there for enough time to not give up on you, but eventually, like if, let's say you were friends with like a drug addict and he was just going downhill and you were there to support him and there to support him and there to support him, right? At some point though, you are wasting your time. I know that sounds really, really bad to say, but at some point someone is hopeless. And maybe you have to give up on them and they have to be totally alone and hit complete rock bottom for them to take responsibility and get their shit together. Same thing. A good woman, especially when she's attracted to you, will stay with you for a long time. But if she doesn't see any sort of light at the end of the tunnel, then she's wasting your time and you're wasting her time. Because you are valuing your sadness and fear and shame and whatever more than you do her. Because she's consistently there trying to help you. Right? So there needs to be some sort of an expression or communication that, hey, I'm going to get through it. I mean, the way I would do it was when I was upset and crying, you know, I would lose hope for a little bit and then, you know, she'd be there to support me. And then I'd be like, okay, look, I'm going to make it through this. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet right now. I don't know why my body is reacting in these ways. I'm having these panic attacks. I don't understand. I'm trying not to do it, which was part of the problem. If you try to fight the panic attack, it's going to come, right? Because you're afraid of it, which causes more panic. Ta-da! Yeah, the trick to panic attacks is you go, okay, bring it. You know, if you have that, first you say, okay, the second level of it, like the highest level is like, oh, cool, I get to have a panic attack. You know, I get to practice dying because that's literally what you feel like, right? So I'm sure dying is very similar to having a panic attack. All this, I mean, that's your system putting on the alarm bells of dying, right? So it might be more physically painful, but it's going to be the same, like, kind of vibe. But if you embrace the challenge, right? So towards the end, when I stopped having panic attacks, like, it would come on and be like, cool, I get to have a panic attack. And then obviously I would stop because the body would be like, clearly we're not in danger because you're getting excited, right? So you got to have some sort of a warrior mentality, right? And a warrior mentality doesn't mean shoving things down and not addressing it, right? You're just a dumb fucking beta cuck, right? I don't usually use phrases like that, but in this case, it feels appropriate. Like, dude, you gotta fight your whatever it is you're going through, right? Because sitting around moping and crying doesn't change anything. Even if it's something serious as like someone dying, like tears are not going to bring them back, right? Go through your sadness, of course, and embrace it, whatever it is you're going through, right? You went through a traumatic event, you lost someone, you lost your job, you feel hopeless. Like, okay, embrace the emotions, and she'll be there with you, right? As long as she's somewhat of a moral woman and she's attracted to you, she'll go through it with you. But you got to show her there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it could be literally as fucking simple as saying, baby, thank you for being with me. I love you. Or if maybe you're not like boyfriend, girlfriend, you're not to the point of saying I love you. Just say, hey, I appreciate you being here with me. And you see this side of myself and, you know, I'll be okay. I'll make it through. I'm upset, but I'll make it through. In most cases, unless she's an absolute piece of shit human being, not only is she going to be okay with you showing emotions, it's actually going to raise her attractiveness. If you haven't done it, you don't have the authority to say so. Because I've done it, and I can confirm. And this isn't the only person who's been with me when I've been upset. I've cried in front of a lot of women. And I've had them continue to want to sleep with me. So clearly it didn't affect the attractiveness too much. All right. So if you've only seen the negative sides, I'm going to have to say, shut the fuck up and like practice what I say. And then find out for yourself that a woman actually can be okay with you crying and even be attracted to it. But if you haven't and you just want to rage emotionally, I mean, go ahead. There are people always in my comments who do that. I'll just delete it because I don't like that shit in my fucking environment, right? It's toxic. But if you have been in that point or been in a situation where a girl uses your weakness against you, sorry. Again, at the end of the day, fucking skill issue, get better, find better girls. You clearly only deserve shitty women because you are shitty. That's a really tough one to accept. But I've done it, so I can say it without being being cruel, right? Just trying to fucking tell you the truth. And also it's the skill issue of expression. Like, show the person you're with, right? Don't be a fucking baby and expect them to do everything for you. Like, you have to communicate with the other person. Show them you're going to get through it. It doesn't even have to be communicated directly. It could literally just be like, you could be crying and you go, all right, let's get, I'll be okay. I'll get through it. Sucks. It hurts, right? Show that you're going to get through it. But first you have to be able to get through it and know you're going to get through it, which requires you to grab your fucking nuts. But that doesn't mean run away from your emotions. Because only pussies run away from their emotions and push them down and stuff them down. But I feel like probably a lot of people who you think stuff them down are actually just facing them. It's the other side of the extreme, right? There's the extreme of, pushing down your emotions, and then there's the extreme of like overly expressing them. And people are always oscillating between those two extremes and never find the middle path, which I understand because it's very easy to jump to extremes. But if you want to be better, then you have to be able to find the nuance in your retaliations against your own mind. Because if you don't discipline your mind, it's going to become your worst enemy. And if you discipline it, well, it's your best friend. And it can help you. Well, it's the only thing helping you with girls, really. So, long meandering way of saying women are okay with you crying. Anyone who says otherwise hasn't been with a good woman, or has been with a good woman, but took her for granted and didn't communicate with her. So, either way, skill issue. Get good. Stop bitching. Crying's okay. Bitching's not. There's a difference. Find it. Cool. Should I go into the marketing? Yeah. I need to get better at this. I have stuff in the description. You could buy it. It'll help you. Day game course. Texting book. I raised my price on the texting book. It's worth more than I was selling it for. If you're interested in coaching, one-on-one tailored advice, sign up for a consultation. Also in the description. All right. Enough marketing. Love you guys. Good luck. Bye.